Oh no, you just filed your tax return and you got an e-file rejection notice saying Form 8962 ACA explanation must be present in the return. Your return has been rejected due to Form 8962 premium tax credit being missing from the return. You should have received Form 1095A health insurance marketplace statement, but it has not been included, so your return is rejected. Or maybe you got a letter saying, we need more information to process your return. According to our records, advance payments of the premium tax credit were made for healthcare coverage for the health insurance marketplace for you or someone in your family. You must include Form 8962 premium tax credit. You must include Form 1095A. Don't respond by filing 1040X amendment, but please fix the problem. I will show you why you're getting these rejection or these IRS letters and how to fix it. Why is your tax return being rejected? Or why are you receiving an IRS letter about this? The reason why, because IRS receives a copy of any tax form that you receive. So you should receive Form 1095A health insurance statement, which basically reports your health coverage that you obtained through marketplace insurance, and they would provide some subsidies if you qualify. If your income is low enough, you can receive some subsidies, and those subsidies would be listed on the Form 1095A. However, those subsidies are based on an estimated income that you have included in your application. So when you apply, you had to estimate how much in income you will expect to make in the year. And the income can change. So at the end of the year, when you're filing between January and April of the following year, your tax returns, you have to bring the Form 1095A to reconcile it and figure it out whether you actually made more income, so your subsidy should be less, or you actually made less in income, so your subsidy should be more. And that reconciliation goes on Form 8962. So that form does the calculation based on your actual numbers, not what it was estimated when you applied for the healthcare coverage, and basically does the calculation whether you have to repay some of it, which would go on Schedule 2, or if you actually are due a higher credit, which is kind of like higher subsidies almost, and that would go on Schedule 3. So either on Schedule 2 or Schedule 3, and that will flow into 1040 to calculate your tax refund or tax liability for the year. So whenever IRS receives a copy of 1095A and they see that you received advance premium tax credits, but you didn't include it in 1040, they know that the bottom line of 1040, your final refund or your final tax liability, is not complete. You are missing this piece, the Form 8962, that does the reconciliation to figure out whether your amount of subsidies was accurate. So in order to fix the problem, you have to include the 1095A, and that flows into the calculation into 8962, which in turn flows into 1040. So that's the way to fix the problem. Now let me walk you through what's 1095A and what kind of information we have there, and why, for example, you might have to repay some of your subsidies. Now, what is 1095A? It's a health insurance statement. So this would be a form such as this, and you will have the information who is on the healthcare policy that was obtained through the healthcare.gov website, who is covered, so all the individual in the family or just a single person. And then you would have information about the coverage, and the coverage information would be for each of the months, how much the coverage cost. Then column B would be the cost of the silver plan, that basically it's used to calculate your subsidies. And column C, this is the amount of subsidies you receive. So for example, if we have this taxpayer here, the coverage was $287.62, but $200 of that was subsidized by the government, so the person actually paid $87.62 on a monthly basis. You could also receive the coverage that varies the subsidies, because let's say if during the year your situation changed and you went back to the marketplace and you updated the information, you said, actually, I started making more money, so I don't need as many subsidies, because at the end of the year, I don't want to repay them if I receive too many. And then maybe you only have the coverage for half a year. You may not have the coverage for the entire year, just half. So this is your 1095A form, and that information, if you have it, you have to put in your tax return. So all the information has to be copied over and put into the tax software. Now that flows into the 8962, which basically uses your modified AGI information, calculates poverty level, how much subsidy you should have received on your actual AGI. And then you see it has all the information from 1095A. So based on that information, it calculates whether you should receive net premium tax credit. So maybe some of the subsidies were too low for your income, or if you receive excess advance payment of PTC, that means you got too much. All that information either goes to Schedule 2 if you owe money back, or you go to Schedule 3 if you receive net premium tax credit. It should go. So we have a Schedule 2 right here if you owe excess advance premium tax credit, so you have to repay. Or if you have credit due to you, this is Schedule 3, you would go right here, net premium tax credit, and that will flow into your 1040. But on page 2, you have either Schedule 2 information or Schedule 3 information would flow in, depending on your situation. If you don't have a copy of your 1095A, you don't know where it is, you didn't receive it, you have to log in your healthcare.gov, go to your account and basically go to tax statements and you pull that information. Now, why is it important to make the best estimate of your income when you apply for the healthcare coverage? Because later on, the calculation, the reconciliation will adjust if you got in too much in subsidies. So let me give you an example. We have a single filer, 30 years old, and they estimated they would make $36,000, and that would be at 282% level. It depends on different states, the poverty level calculation. So the cost of the plan would be $4,804. Now they would receive, based on that estimate income, $2,900 towards the payment of the healthcare coverage that would be sent to the healthcare provider. And the taxpayer would pay $1,904. But let's say the taxpayer brings the 1095A, the reconciliation is done on 8962. Maybe, a baby was born in the household. Maybe the person got married. Situation have changed. They actually had a worse job than they anticipated. So they actually made $24,000. So the situation, may have changed. And based on that, the poverty level would be 188, so it's lower. So the cost of the plan would be still the same, but now the subsidies that the government would offer that taxpayer would be higher, and they would expect the taxpayer to only pay $365. So if the taxpayer already paid $1,904, but they were expected to only pay $365 based on the reconciliation on 8962, guess what? They would receive a credit that will be on the Schedule 3, additional prime tax credit for the taxpayer. So that's why it's very important to make a best estimate. And sometimes it might actually, if you find yourself paying every year, having too much in subsidies, maybe try to overestimate your income. So you expect to make more. So then in case you actually have a worse situation, you will get it in credit. Now, if you want to estimate how much you could receive in subsidies and how much your health insurance premiums would be, there are two calculators that I would recommend. One by KFF, and you provide just information from your state, because it also varies based on the location, number of family, adults, and so on. And the other calculator is by Taxpayer Advocate Services. So you can use them to basically figure it out how much maybe you would change or how much you can expect if you're going to apply for healthcare coverage through Marketplace. Now, in the past, there used to be also Form 1095B and C, and those would also be required to file your tax return with. because there was a requirement to have healthcare coverage. So in 2018 was the last year that you were required to have healthcare coverage. Otherwise, there was a penalty. For 2018, there was $695 for an adult and $395 per kid. And that information, if you didn't have it, would basically penalize you under 1040. However, that's no longer the case. 1095A, it's still required, specifically because of these subsidies that are based on your expected income. And that has to be reconciled on 8962, and that's why you have to include them to file Form 1040. Now, if you get the rejection, either go to your tax software, input the 1095A, that will generate the 8962, and that will clear the rejection, and then you resubmit. You do not amend your tax return. You do not file 1040X and send it. If you receive a paper notice, maybe a paper file, you would just have to, make a copy of the 1095A. You have to do calculation on 8962, and you send that to the IRS. It says, send us the following documents. So usually they tell you what you need to send, and they tell you don't file an amendment, just provide us that information, and they will do the reconciliation on your behalf. There's still 5 states as of January 2022 that do require healthcare coverage, and they do have penalty if you don't have it. So be aware that we were talking about the federal law, but on your state, if you Massachusetts, New Jersey, Vermont, California, Rhode Island, District of Columbia, there could be state regulation that does require healthcare coverage. If you receive Form 1095A and you don't have a filing requirement, you have to include it, and you do have to file if you receive advanced premium tax credits. So if you get subsidies, regardless of your tax filing requirement, you have to file it to do the reconciliation. Or the second reason, if you want to get premium tax credit because maybe you didn't get enough in subsidies. If you are one of these taxpayers that get the healthcare coverage through the marketplace, but you pay the whole amount yourself, so there's no subsidies, then you don't have to reconcile it because you paid the entire amount, so there's nothing to reconcile. So hopefully this helped you figure out how to fix the problem. Resubmit with 1095A, which will generate 8962, and resubmit your tax return. So thanks so much for watching.